in a really nice place in the south of Italy, in Frosinone. And tonight we will play with the band Ernest and with Jesse Mosher. And now I'm gonna ask some questions to these two guys. And this is Aileen. Aileen, she's the leader of the band Ernest, and this is Jesse Mosher. Is the official painter of CG Vermont? CJ,
yeah.
Sorry, shit, so I'm sorry.
I'm definitely the official painter of my own life.
Yeah, okay. So, the question, the first question is, what is the role of the artist in the society for you?
You go first.
No, I knew you were going to say that. The role of the artist in you could talk about this for a long time, but if you really boil it down, the role of the artist in society is to challenge. And it's to challenge ideas, it's to challenge perceptions, it's to challenge their own self, and challenge the amount of depth that a human can get to, the depths of emotion that you can bring out in your work, and challenge, the amount of skills you can develop in a lifetime, and challenge an audience. So it's, in a lot of ways, it's about challenging. But the artist's role in society is also, it's a person who doesn't consume, who doesn't waste, who doesn't do the things that are kind of intrinsic or basic to all humans. You're a person that lives without expectation in the future. You're a person that lives without expectations of success or monetary success or stability as most people see it. And you're a person that's able to kind of live in a mercurial state or in a state of constant flux, but be true to yourself and a never-ending quest to find yourself. A great artist is not necessarily somebody that's figured something out about the world. It's what they figured out about themselves and how that fits into the world.
Wow, nice. Okay.
Okay, I think, an artist's role in society is to awaken other people's consciousness. So, because our consciousness is dulled every day by lots of things. I mean, things that come from the outside, so, just the daily routine, but also things that come from the inside. So, just our upbringing, or, anything that puts us into a pattern and just kind of closes our mind to actually what's happening in reality right now. And, the artist should be able to show you, to make it so that you can live a moment that's real, bring you back to reality in that moment. And so, I think that's what the artist's role in society is, and it happens with all different kinds of art forms. That's why human beings need art, because we're not just animals. We don't need to satisfy only our basic needs. We need something that's higher, that's, in a way, it's spiritual. And art is what brings us to that level, to a level that's superior, and helps us be awake and conscious in society. And also another thing that's important, an artist is just a metaphor of a person who acts in reality. So, because an artist is doing something, an artist is creating something, but actually, imagine everyone has an imagination, and imagination isn't just something that you do for fun. Anyone can change reality with their imagination. So it's just, an artist is just a metaphor for creative thinking. It's just showing other people, people who aren't artists or whatever, that they can change the world just by the way they look at it, giving them a different point of view. So that's there's a lot to say, but that's what I think.
Yeah, you just expanded my consciousness. That's great.
Okay, we changed location because over there was too busy. Anyway, what artists are most important for you? Which one influenced you most?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a lot of artists have influenced me in different ways, you know what I mean? And there's a ton of artists I respect a lot. But it kind of breaks down into the two groups of artists that It's people that are them as artists informed my philosophy of art and has taught me about my definition of artist. And there's other people that, while they've done that also, the actual mechanics of what they do as an artist, the way they perform and stuff, is really influential to what I do. And so the people that really inform the philosophy of what I do, I'd say Lou Reed is probably my ultimate vision of artist. Ever since I was a kid, it was always someone I said, that's an artist, and try to look to him to see you know, how he changes over time, what he talks about. He's an artist that can both show like vulnerability and strength and extreme bravery to talk about some of the things he does and take some of the approaches to making music that are very his own and very his own ideas that he had confidence in, that he was able to make happen, you know. A very important one for me, and Jack Kerouac, of course, is probably the first person that I made the move in my life to move to Lowell, Massachusetts, to meet his friends, to become a poet, to live in his area and try to live in some way how he did, you know, in a different time. But I became part of the culture of Lowell. I soaked up a lot of my personality I got from living in the city. And as much as Jack Kerouac's an amazing individual artist, there's so much of his town and his city and people I've met there that are in his character. There's people you meet in a bar that look exactly like him because they're French Canadian. I've met, you know, people that are related to him. Their last name is Kerouac, you know, and they have that spark in them, and that city really had the spark in it. And there's also cities, you know, that influenced me too. But living in different cities, it has an effect on you, and I always try to take on the accent and some of the culture of these cities. You know, be myself to some, you know, always be myself, but myself is affected by the places I've lived.
So now you're going to be influenced by Italy.
I already am. I already am. You know, eating well, living the good life. I go home and I'm much more relaxed because I think, I know how I could possibly live. It's amazing. But there's some people, like for actually the way I perform and stuff like that, the most influential people to me are not painters. They're definitely, because the painters, even the many different styles, is always done with an easel, almost always done on canvas, and almost always done with oil paint, which none of which I use. So when it comes to like painting the way I paint and performing the way I do, the people that are most important to me are Joan Jett, Iggy Pop, Johnny Thunders, C.J. Ramone, Dee Dee Ramone, Johnny Ramone. Those people I could watch infinite video of. Stiv Bators. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but they're mostly artists from a certain era of the 70s where music got really tough and it became experimental, and people were extremely brave in their lyrics and their performance style. They broke the mold in a lot of ways, and in ways that the best stuff today is still influenced by, absolutely. But I watch all those people perform, I'm just blown away. You know, Link Ray, this is a bunch of people. They're the people that I paint. My art works in a circle in that way. The people who influence me are the people I paint, and then I see the paintings of them, and that influences me, and it keeps it in a circle, keeps me motivated. More than motivated, keeps me inspired, keeps me making what I'm making. But watching video of concert footage of things I never got to see, or the concerts that I have seen that have just blown my mind, all that stuff is in my head, and it's affected the way I get out there and do it. But when I'm actually out there doing it, I'm not even that conscious of that okay, now I'm going to do this thing. You know? It's just happening, and I'm watching it. I feel like there's energy coming from behind me, through me, into me, and I'm watching myself, like an almost out-of-body experience.
We can say that you play the canvas.
Yes, I play the canvas. And I can't use canvas because I did in the beginning, but it would flap back and forth, and I'd rip it. And so now I use wood. I use wood from the streets of where I live. I don't go out in a car and collect it. I don't buy it. I walk my dog or walk around the neighborhood and grab a big piece of wood, bring it home, cut it to pieces, prime it, and then I paint on that. So not only do I not pay anything for what I make, but what I make is actually from the streets of New York. It's literally wood, this trash wood from the streets of New York. Like it was trash wood from the streets of San Francisco or the different, wherever I live, I bring part of that to wherever I go and perform.
Before?
Okay, well, the most important artist for me, number one, Bob Dylan.
Very important to everybody who's serious.
That for me was like discovery of my life. Like I started listening to him when I was about 16, and like I rediscovered reality through him because basically it's like he showed me that you can make space. Like he opened a new space in music, and I think that's also another thing that art does. It shows you that in whatever situation, like you can take any subject, any event, and like create a space for it. Like, and so the way that he's changed over the years and the way that he's been able to talk about anything and help you like rediscover reality. So that was the most inspirational thing to me. Yeah, Bob Dylan, and then obviously Bob Dylan has his ancestors, so the Beat Generation, and that was also another eye-opening thing for me because it was like they really brought you into they really bring you into their reality, and they bring you into a certain rhythm of life, and it's something that completely changes your mindset.
Do you know that thing where they say, talking about awakening to America as a piece of poetry instead of a place to stagger around in, that whole thing that Jack Kerouac said?
No, say it.
That's much of it. I can't quote verbatim, but that's basically the idea. Is awakening. He awakened at some point to the idea of America as a poem, not as a place to like struggle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then once you see America as a poem, there's beauty everywhere, and there's things worth interpreting and putting in your writing, and you think about them, and then you have to express that vision of what that thing is. And it's nice.
Yeah, seeing America's point, seeing everything as a poem, potentially, right? So yeah, I don't know. The beats. And then Bob Dylan, because he's so versatile, and it's just like every moment of his career is something new, something fresh. So it just gives you hope for like every moment in your life has a potential, basically. So yeah, that's it.
Are there any new bands that you like?
New bands. Well, very recently. I really got into the Growlers, like new bands that just came out now, because I really appreciate the lyrics, and I think like in the sense that I was saying before, I think they like opened a new space in music. They created like even the way the singer sings. He experiments with different rhythms, with different patterns. He's not just working with the typical song, stanza, chorus. I don't know how you say it. Typical structure. It's very open, and it's very open to experimentation. But at the same time, it's music. It's not totally like everywhere. There's songs that work. I mean, they're almost pop songs, but they're very deep, even with the lyrics, and so that's a new band that I appreciate.
Okay. The last question: what make a good show?
You go first.
Do you want me to answer the one about the new bands?
Oh yeah, he has to answer
yeah,
that.
no.
Okay.
Go for it.
So new bands, since I'm older than you guys, and time tends to like slow down or speed up, whatever. A new band for me is a band I've discovered in the last like 10 years. So in that, there's a bunch, and a lot of them are bands that I discovered when I started touring with my old band Strange Feather, and before that it was called Kid Cook. So that was the first time I was out on the road, and I see all kinds of music from around the country, and some bands really blew my mind. There was a band called, I think back at my t-shirts that I collected. There's a really, really good band from Portland called the New York Rifles. I love that band. Really, really cool band. Like almost like the last of the grunge bands kind of thing. They were they're probably 40 back then, 2009, in the late 30s, and they'd been killing it, making that music since they were 18. They're very good at it. That band blew my mind. About 10 years ago, I listened to Ryan Adams a lot. I think he's a really profound writer, and he was at a phase in his career where he was making many albums a year, 3 albums a year or something. And there was a lot of really great stuff that he came up with that blew my mind. I love, he was, for me, in my generation, like a Bob Dylan, someone that every month you would hear a new song, see him play again. He'd play all new songs. He would come out with 3 albums a year, and he would tour mercilessly, like hundreds and hundreds of shows a year for 10 years, thousands of shows. So it was always, I would work as hard as I could as an artist, and then I'd go see Ryan play, and I'd be like, oh, he was only 3 years older than me, so I'd be like, damn, now I got 3 years to catch up to that, you know? And then every time it was like a new album, a totally new style, a totally new like way of doing things, new people he worked with, and I was always like, man, that is so cool. And having met him once, twice, 3 times maybe, and one time really getting to talk to him about stuff, I got a good sense of where he's coming from. And, that was cool. But, you know, modern bands, I love the Mean Jeans. They're one of my favorite bands that I've performed with in years. Kepi Ghouli's been around a long time, but I've only been listening to him and performing with him a couple times in the last couple of years. And then all the bands in Italy, like Ernest, my favorite band. I wouldn't lie to you. These ladies here, all 3 of them, they blew my mind when I painted with them a couple months ago in Parma, and that was like a really profound experience for me. It really made me think about some different stuff and question some stuff and think about where I was at, what I was trying to do, what I accomplished, what I wanted to accomplish, and who I wanted to work with, and ideas that I hadn't thought of that I think would work with you guys, or things I could do with you guys that I'd wanted to do but I hadn't fully thought about. You know what I mean? And you meet you guys and opened up the possibilities of like being able to do certain things.
Okay,
There's a couple great ones.
So, what makes a good show?
Makes a good show. Well, sound's got to be good, but not necessarily great. It has to be good. A crowd, really throws their energy at you. A wild crowd, a diverse, mixed crowd. A mixed bill where it's not all the same genre of music or all the same type of music. So each band sounds very fresh. Each band, okay, wow, that was a great country band. Wow, that was a great punk rock band. Instead of seeing, 5 or 6 bands of the same type, and by the last one, the headliner, you're like exhausted of listening to something, heavy metal, punk rock, whatever the genre of the night is. Those are all, I think, really important things to a show. Preparation, I think, is extremely important. That you're prepared to do it, you're in good enough shape to do it, you're healthy enough to do it, you've practiced what you're going to do, you're focused on what you're going to do, you're well rested, you're relaxed. I think all that stuff is very important to have a great show.
Aileen?
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what makes a good show. I mean, definitely the sound.
Yeah. There's a musician talking. Most important.
And then, but I think it's something that's hard to put in words. It's like there's a good communication between the public and the crowd, but it's not necessarily like the band members addressing the crowd. It's just like a good synchrony between what's happening on stage and between who's listening, and also between the band members, obviously. So it's like a sort of alchemy that's created between who's making music and who's listening. But I'm not really sure how it happens. I think it's just mostly about being there. Like,
yeah.
If the band is really into what they're doing, then even if they're not really like saying or addressing the crowd or being really way out there, the crowd will also be concentrated on what the band is doing, and then it just goes back and forth. The crowd gives energy to the band, and the band gives energy to the crowd.
A loop. You create a loop.
Yeah.
And the loop feeds itself, and then you just rise with it.
Yeah.
I thought of another thing that's, because I was mostly talking about stuff before the show, in order for it to be successful. But when you're up there and everybody's going for it with everything they got, and even more to the point, no one's afraid to fail. You go out on a limb, you take a risk, you have an idea in your head, you go with it, you improvise, all that stuff is it, you know what I mean? It's like I always think what I'm going to do, but the most magic moments, I don't know what I'm going to do next, and it's perfect, you know? But sometimes you fall on your face, and for me, if I make a mistake, watch real carefully, because the next time period right after that mistake, I'm going to nail everything and go absolutely off to prove it wasn't You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So I'll make a flub or something. I'll drop a paintbrush. I'll snatch that paintbrush up. Crowd surf, go through something crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't even matter in that dynamic. It doesn't even matter if you make a mistake. If you're like giving yourself completely to what's happening in that moment, it doesn't matter.
If you're worried about making a mistake, you're not fully giving yourself to the performance. You know what I mean? And you can't really become the most you're going to become, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for this homemade interview.
You guys are the best.
I hope you enjoy.
That's why I'm here. You're the best. Thank you.
And see
Talk
ya.
to you soon. YouTube
Yeah.
world.